So today's Gen Drop is side effects of being quote unquote too much versus actually being too much. Let's break it down. So when someone has told me in the past that I was quote unquote too much, it has always been related to me simply existing as a joyful person. I'm not even exaggerating. I can name 3 different times where someone has said, "You're just too much." And their reasoning when I asked what about it is too much? Someone literally said to me, "You just seem like you're happy all the time." So here's the thing. When that person said to me, like, "You just seem like you're happy all the time," it was also wild to me because I was like, I am absolutely not happy all the time. I'm not happy all the time. But for them, even the illusion of simply just being consistently happy when they see me, or they only saw me when I was doing my work and my work makes me happy, that felt like too much for them. But at the time, I didn't have the language to really understand that that was a reflection of them and not me, right? I took that in as like, oh, I'm being annoying and I'm pushing, I'm making someone not like me, et cetera, et cetera. When really it's like, damn, if someone being joyous is too much for you, that sucks for you. That sucks. But the concept of too much has been explained to me sometimes verbally, but most times in action, right? Like you feel like people are being pushed away by you wanting to bring them closer. And sometimes your efforts to bring them closer are literally just you wanting reciprocation. Can you call me back when I call you? Can you not leave me hanging if we have plans? Can you be responsive to my emotions, etc.? Now, when I'm talking about it right now, it feels like a one-sided friendship because that's what it becomes if the other person doesn't have that reciprocation. Sometimes maybe that other person doesn't feel like they can do any of those things with you, and that's a whole other episode. But the truth is that too much, in quotes, when it's not really explained, can really be very dehumanizing is not the word. And I don't want to say, well, I'll just say, no, what's the word I'm looking for? It's like taking your spirit. I know somebody's in their car yelling it at the speaker right now. It is it's like sobering. It sucks. Now, on the other hand, there is a version of being too much. And 9 times out of 10, that version of being too much is just lack of self-awareness and wanting more from a scenario than either you're bringing to it or than it calls for. I think a lot of us have probably had situations where maybe someone came on too strong and that felt like too much. And it wasn't necessarily that that person themselves is too much, but it's that it doesn't match where we are in the process. The action or the desire doesn't match where we are in the process. And so it feels like too much. It's low key like if you're growing a plant, you got to manage how much water you give the plant. Because if you put too much water, you will drown the plant. And then it won't be able to grow. It won't be able to develop. It's that type of vibe. And that's a real thing that happens to some of us because, well, we don't know how to be friends. We don't know how to be friends. We maybe didn't have friends, or maybe our parents didn't really like socialize us in that way, or maybe we saw our parents have friends in the same manner. And so now we're mimicking that behavior. But whatever it is, there are times where we have had to either deal with that or where we've shown up in that way. And it's been probably very disappointing. It's also the kind of thing that really can jar you. And the best case in that scenario is be graceful with yourself. Because a lot of times you're doing something without you don't have the negative intention, but the too much that the other person is talking about feels negative because it feels harmful, right? Because it's either making them feel like they're not enough, or it's making them feel like they are not your equal. And if that's someone you actually do want as a friend or a partner, then that's not going to work, right? That balance is not there. And the imbalance is where we end up in conflict. Being quote unquote too much, remember the quote unquote too much, also is a sign of imbalance. Because sometimes it's really just that person doesn't love you the way you love them. or that person doesn't love the way that you love, right? Because that's another thing. You can feel like too much to someone who doesn't have that same love language, right? You can feel like too much to someone who doesn't have the experience of even receiving love or friendship. So they don't have the actual tools to even break down. It's like how your body needs certain processes to break down certain vitamins, et cetera. And like you can have a deficiency, right? If your body doesn't know how to break down vitamin D, then it can't even accept vitamin D. That's the same thing with actual emotions. Some people don't have the actual tools to know how to break down the emotions so that it can feed them. So it just feels like toxic. It feels like a frustration because they're constantly having to face something that they can't manage. And so it feels like too much. You are reminding me of my inability to be able to process this with just your existence. I don't know about y'all, but I've been in that situation with the lovers. I've told y'all this on this podcast several times. I've had men say to me straight up, I can't be with you because you're too good of a person and I'm not equipped to process that and give it back equally. Now, did I walk away? No, of course. No, of course not. I said, no, we can build the tools together. We can mine it. We can mine for the ore and we can shape it. And then we can fashion it into something that will allow you to be able to process my love. And that's when I went from too much in quotes to too much for real. Okay? Because now I'm giving to something and someone that has very clearly stated, I cannot receive this. So this is now too much. It's overflowing. You understand? The levee done broke. But both of these things can seem kind of like esoteric, right? They can seem kind of nebulous. But in reality, we are a world of individuals trying to figure out and manage how to be in this world of individuals. And when it comes down to it, the best thing you can do is learn about you and learn about what type of person you are. Are you somebody that needs a little bit more help in showing up with emotions? Are you somebody that is very advanced and is an emotional intellectual? You know, you can be fair to yourself and say, I didn't get that from my parents, or I didn't get that from my experience. You know, you can say that to yourself and be honest with yourself. And the sooner that you do that, the more you can do for yourself and love for yourself and provide for yourself, because there is never too much work and love that you can give yourself in order to receive the overabundance of much that exists here in this world. I feel like I'm wearing the right outfit for this episode. I feel very guru. But you know what we're not done with? The questions. Because we got to go to the Amandaverse. So if you want to get in on it, because I really feel like I'm in my bag today, go on over to Patreon, Amanda Seals, or you can also get there by going to theamandaverse.com. Even when sometimes the doing too much is like, you're just having too good of a time right now. I'm uncomfortable. Now, sometimes that can be real. Like we're in the club and you just drank too much and you out here and you standing on this table, you're wearing platforms, you're going to get an injury. You're doing too much. That's not what we're talking about.